Blaze News video investigation found that two unidentified men incited rioters on January 6th and stood feet from Ashli Babbitt and later secretly met with Capitol Police. Here to discuss is Blaze News investigative journalist Steve Baker. And Steve, what can you tell us about this investigation in particular?
Well, first of all, I wish Joe Hanneman was here because he's been working on this for months. So I'm speaking for Joe and his excellent work. But there are many unidentified, unusual characters, as he points out in this particular story. The sedition hunters, those online sleuths, many of whom have acted as paid confidential human sources of the FBI. We know that to be an absolute fact now, by the way. They themselves have been very frustrated because they've identified about 800. I didn't say 8. I didn't say 80. I said 800 of these unusual characters.
Seems like a lot.
Yes, they've turned their identities over to the FBI, and the FBI has not moved on them in all of this time. About I'd say a couple of hundred of those are what they call AFOs. They're on the FBI's most wanted list, assault on federal officers. And the sedition hunters, they're not our friends. I like to refer to them as good Germans, if you know what that means. If you don't, look it up. But nevertheless, they have become very frustrated because they have turned violent offenders' names, addresses, have actually posted online and addressed and tagged the FBI and said, if you need their home address, we'll give it to you. But this frickin' Frack is another example of a couple of very suspicious, highly unusual characters in their activities that day on video for a couple of hours, which Joe followed them closely for all of this time, both on police body-worn cameras and Capitol CCTV. And there's a lot of questions.
So they meet with Capitol Hill Police. They're suspicious. Lay out what you and Joe think are the possibilities for who these people are.
Particularly when you look at the ring on one of their fingers, I think that it's possible that they're a father and son team. It's very likely by considering the age difference. One of them is wearing a Punisher ring, which typically is worn by military, special forces, former law enforcement, that sort of thing. But the fact that they had a very unusual encounter with Capitol Police at the end of their day, where one of them sat in a patrol car, a Capitol Police patrol car, for 27 minutes, showing them the videos that they had taken that day. And then the Capitol Police have the temerity to tell us, oh, yeah, we don't know who that was. He didn't identify himself. Wait a minute. You're a cop, and a guy's giving you video information for 27 minutes, and you don't get his contact information. We have a acronym for that.
Yeah, there's a lot of fishy things that go on with this. But Steve, you were in the building earlier today. We got to catch up a little bit, and we were just talking about, Donald Trump winning the election and what that's going to mean for January 6th defendants. And you brought up an interesting point that a lot of people right now are going out there in the media and trying to go out there and badmouth January 6th defendants and make their case one last time before Donald Trump takes office.
That they are, and I'm a prime example. I have people that want to see me waterboarded at Guantanamo every day for the rest of my life for nonviolent misdemeanors. And then we have, of course, the cases of the individuals that there's no other way to put it. They were framed, they were accused of things that they did not do, and then they were made examples of through this, what we call this embarrassment process of a trial, and have had their lives destroyed. Fortunately, I've not had my life destroyed, but there is an ample number of people out there still trying to drive home the point, and they're doing it every day. They're doing it on my X feed every single day, of reminding people of the crimes that I committed. What they're reminding people of are the accusations that were made, but those accusations, as we know, are not always factual.
Yeah, I love how these accusations, they're not pounding the pavement for frickin' Frack, who incited rioters for hours, right?
That's right.
To be taken in. They're not pounding the pavement asking who these many mysterious people are. It really is ridiculous. So when we talk about Trump selecting Ratcliffe to the CIA, what do you think about that? What's your I suppose, libertarian self. I mean, whatever that is in your soul and heart. What do you think about Ratcliffe and the CIA, and do you think he's a good fit for it? Good things or bad things?
As I said earlier, I wish Joe was here to talk about frickin' Frack. I wish our good friend J. Michael Waller was here to talk about Ratcliffe, and especially about the CIA in general. If ever there was an agency, an organization within our federal government that needs to have a decapitation, dismantling, whatever you want, and then a rebuilding from the ground up, because we need intelligence services. We need that line of defense. We need to know what our enemies are doing, what they're thinking, what they're planning. But we know that this particular agency not only was founded, unfortunately, on Marxist principles, but it has developed into the enemy within.
Yeah, we can't say enough about that. Just real quick. I mean, I think Angelo Codevilla was a name that was mentioned earlier by Dave Raboy, a great friend and mentor who wrote eloquently at American Mind not long ago about what to do before he passed away. And his opinion after years of being a Senate Intelligence Committee was you have to break this thing up because the point of it was, as you point out, in the Cold War, to look outside, to spy on enemies, to have nothing to do with what's going on domestically.
Well, unfortunately, we have far too many of our intelligence agencies, both in the Department of Defense and outside of the Department of Defense, that are looking and spending too much time looking at us.
Well, another department that everybody is not really friendly with right now is FEMA, because another whistleblower came out, and we saw all the accusations for the homeowner saying, oh, if you have Trump signs in your yard, don't go and help them after Hurricane Milton. And it's just so interesting to see. Right, all these Trump supporters are labeled domestic terrorists. The J6ers are out there. When we look at this, and it's just political prosecution across the board within government agencies, what do you look at specifically when it comes to FEMA here?
All right, you're going to get my blood pressure up now because this is something I'm very passionate about. I am a resident of North Carolina and have been for over 30 years. My children were born there. Matt graciously allowed me to spend 3 weeks there. I feel like I still need to be there because there's so many more stories that need to be told. But the main story that needs to be told today is what FEMA is not doing. They need to know, the American people need to know about the absence of what their efforts are. But not just FEMA, we're talking about the military. We're talking about Governor Cooper's, his abilities to marshal and to command and to send National Guard troops, as well as the Biden administration's ability and obligation to send the resources that only our military can provide. And I can tell you that 2 days ago, I did over a 100-mile drive through the devastated areas on the way here to Dallas. And I can tell you that in that drive through the most devastated areas, I'm talking about the far northwest counties of North Carolina into eastern Tennessee, I did not see a single FEMA trailer. I did not see a single troop transport vehicle, not a single National Guard troop on the ground anywhere. But I did see tent cities. I saw houses up in trees, 30 foot up in trees demolished, and these people are still trying to live on that land as it's beginning to get cold and in some places already have snow on the ground.
Steve, yesterday you probably saw the interview. We had Adam on Savage Freedom. You were there, in the middle of the camp basically that he set up, right? Yep. You were there for a while. It just struck me from what he was saying that this story is disappearing right at the worst possible time, really, right, from the national press because winter is coming on. And what's your take on what's still needed and where things are at there?
Well, I'll tell you more than what my take is because the needs are great. The needs are beyond the ability of the private organizations. Whether we're talking about Savage Freedoms, we're talking about Samaritan's Purse, who you do see everywhere, by the way, or Mercury One and any of the other great organizations that are doing good work there. It's bigger than that. I mean, if you just go look at the North Carolina government's website, the statistical damage done, the number of people displaced, we're talking about 6,000 miles of damaged roads. We're talking about over 100,000 houses destroyed or completely gone. They're North Carolina homes that are pieces of them are in Tennessee now. And I can go on with the human part of the devastation of the tragedy, but the main tragedy going on now is not only what the government is not doing, but even what they are doing is an insult. Because not only are more people being turned down for their $750 that are receiving it, we're talking about people that have lost their property, lost their homes that still have a $150,000 mortgage, and FEMA's giving them a $40,000 grant.
Yeah.
And they still have to pay the mortgage off.
It's devastating out there. And the photos that we put on the screen earlier were from JP Decker. He is still there with Mercury One. He's there for the next couple of days. But yeah, so mercury1.org, if you can still go help these guys, because they still absolutely need it. I know they sent another semi-truck out there yesterday, and they're doing what they can. But like Steve said, it's so great. This problem is still so vast. It's going to take a very long time.